And once this thing says live,
Whatever.
then we're ready to roll.
You're the boss, remember?
Think I'm the boss.
Yeah, you are the boss. I'm simply here to oblige you.
Okay, we're live, Prabhu. So let me. We're here discussing Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja offering to His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This is a 1961 Vyasa Puja offering by Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And we
Before
are
he
going to be,
founded it.
yes, go ahead, Prabhu.
Before he founded it.
Oh, before he founded it, yes. Before he founded the Hare Krishna or the ISKCON Society. And then we have discussed the first Vashishta already, 1 to 10. And then we're discussing the second Vashishta. We have discussed 11 through 11 through 14 already in the second Vashishta. And now we're going to be discussing 15 to 20.
Yes.
So anyone who's watching this on YouTube or Facebook Live, they can join. I'll be sharing the link. You can join as the conversation is going on. You can share your realizations. We want to specifically discuss about this Vashishtas here, but there might be some opportunity to ask a question if it's related to it. Right, Prabhu?
Yes, sure.
Okay, Prabhu. So let's start reading.
Okay, I'll read number 14. To cross the ocean is not allowed for Hindus, but you send your devotees across the ocean. Uh, Remember, we're talking about Bhaktisiddhanta having been initiated by a person who was clearly a contrarian. If he had not taken initiation at all and had remained the putative disciple of his father, he would not have been able to do any of these things because he was as strict gets.
Right,
If,
right.
when he was 4 years old, maybe younger, uh, his mother was cutting up mango to offer to the deity. And maybe he was 2 years old, and he saw the mango. He liked mango, so he took a piece and began to eat it. His mother chastised him and said, "You should not eat that. That was meant for offering to Krishna." From that point onward, he never ate mango, touched mango again in his life. So that's how strict he was and how uh, observant he was of the smallest details of Vaishnava etiquette. And so when he said to send his disciples across the ocean, that was clearly contrarian. Contrarian meaning that the going across the ocean is not accepted, but he sent them because of Gorka Sardas Babaji gave him the power to do things opposite of the way people think they should be done. Okay, now number 15. In Kali Yuga cities, the Guru's instructions are forbidden, but you remain there anyway with your special purpose in mind. This is, again, the contrarian nature. Instead of protecting his disciples from Kali Yuga, he thrust them into the middle of the situation in cities where they were exposed to, it says earlier, the inauspicious faces of non-devotees, not supposed to see by the devotee, but he put them there to see so that they could preach to these people and transform them from karmis into devotees. So in Kali Yuga cities, the Guru's instructions are forbidden. I'm not clear as to who has done the forbidding, but during that time, it was probably the British Raj, as well as the end of the Mughal Empire, had taken the Vedic culture and turned it on its head. But he says, but you remain there anyway with your special purpose in mind. And what is the special purpose? His idea is that every jiva deserves to become transformed into a pure devotee of the Lord. And so, whatever it takes to change a person and make them into a pure devotee of the Lord, that is his special purpose. In your Dwarka right now, there's no preaching in the streets because everyone is scared of the COVID-19 virus. But Bhaktisiddhanta would be out there in front, projecting into the COVID situation with the holy name of Krishna and with the preaching, because that is what Lord Chaitanya wants. And it's interesting because he says, he's talking about him as though he's just another guru in one sense. But Lord Chaitanya has already said, every town and village, wherever you go, whomever you meet, simply speak of Krishna. He doesn't say you should hide out. These are Vaishnava or Brahminical traditions that you hide out away from the, population.
Yes.
But Lord Chaitanya did not hide out. He would go into a city made of chitai huts, woven bamboo huts, and then bamboo structure, thatched roofs. He would go into a village like that. They would have such outrageous kirtan that when they left, the whole town would be flat. They had destroyed every building by dancing on them. So this is what he's doing, is continuing the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even though the Brahmins and the Vaishnava culture would say, don't do it that way. Yes. And of course, they can worship Lord Chaitanya all they like, as long as they don't do anything that Lord Chaitanya did. Just like the Christians can worship Jesus as much as they wish, as long as they don't live a life comparable to that of Jesus. So they make an excuse. He lived like that, we don't have to. He lived like that so that we don't have to. We can be hiding out Christian or Hindus. Brahmins, they are hiding out from Lord Chaitanya, and that's why Prabhupada mentions this. But Prabhupada is putting out clearly that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati doesn't give a fig for the sensibilities of the Brahmins and of the Vaishnava culture, how people behave as good, quote unquote, good Vaishnavas. He breaks that and says, go and chant in the cities, go into a palace, not into a little bhajan kutir. Attract people's attention, make them chant the holy name. That was Bhaktisiddhanta's mission. And I just tried to clarify how it was different than the times in which he lived. And then, the devotees went to go to some lonely place to perform their bhajan, but you don't accept this in your judgment. Because Lord Chaitanya didn't either. Lord Chaitanya said, on my order become guru. And what is guru? Guru is someone who knows something that you do not know. So if somebody has heard the Hare Krishna mantra, he can go somewhere into a village somewhere, even if he's not very intelligent. He can go into the village and say, I have been told to chant Hare Krishna. Let's chant Hare Krishna. He can say that. And there's no way that Lord Chaitanya would say, no, don't do that. You should go to a lonely place to chant, because you don't want to create a disturbance and you don't want your faith shaken by the non-believers that are around you. No, we have to take that chance at all times, that the non-believers will believe. If the non-believers see us believing in their midst, they will try to chant. They may mock us by chanting. They may make fun of us by chanting. But in the end, they will believe because we believe, and we are not giving up on that wonderful opportunity to chant the holy name publicly, not privately. So he said, you don't accept us in your judgment. Prabhupada says about his Guru Maharaj. Well, he didn't. No, he doesn't accept in his judgment. He wants public
So
chanting.
we have Vishnu Tejas Prabhu. He had some questions from last time. So Prabhu, Bhanu is here also. Bhanu is joining. Vishnu Tejas Prabhu is here. So we got a couple of devotees today.
Great.
So, Vishnu Tejas Prabhu, are you there?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Prabhu, you wanted to ask some questions.
Oh, no, I just had something to say, but then I forgot it. So,
Oh, okay. If you remember, then you can say
Okay.
it anytime you like.
He will remember.
Narayan Prabhu had a request from you to read.
oh,
the-
yeah. Oh,
Yes, that part.
which one? The 11?
You
No,
have it handy?
Wait, what?
Can you do it, or you don't have your equipment?
No, I can read.
Oh, okay.
But from
oh
where? 9 or?
no, Narayan Prabhu wanted you to read Gaur Kishore Das Babaji's pastime.
Oh, that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me just find it again.
Yes,
Oh,
the contrarian nature that we were discussing in what number 15 and 16.
yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Let me find it.
Can you see the shlokas in front of you?
Yes, he can.
Tejas Prabhu.
Bhanu Prabhu, Hare Krishna, where you've been hiding?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Where
I'm
have you
waiting
been
in the-
hiding?
Hare Krishna, Narayan Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Narayan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna
Can you
Prabhu,
read-
please accept my humble obeisances, all glory to
Can,
Krishna Prabhu.
can you read those passages about Gaur Kishore Das Babaji?
Yeah, I'm still finding it.
No problem.
Oh, I see.
So,
Well, if you want, I can continue, and when you find it, then you can do it. How's that?
yes, maybe a quick introduction for Bhanu Prabhu. Bhanu Prabhu, do you know what we're discussing here?
Vasishta Stakam.
No.
I don't know exactly what that is, though.
Oh, he doesn't know what it is. Narayan Prabhu, can you explain it a little bit?
Falgun Krishna Panchami?
Yes.
Well, it's a Vyas Puja offering to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in 1961 in Vrindavan, India, at the Radha Damodar temple. Godbrothers gathered to honor their spiritual master more nominally than in actuality. So Prabhupada wrote this poem, which is very electric and is very strong and in many ways caustic, because he was doing what we're doing. He was comparing the Gaudiya Math to the intention of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, just as we are comparing ISKCON with the intention of Srila Prabhupada.
Mm.
And we're saying that they have made a cheap thing out of it by comparison to what Prabhupada was offering. And Prabhupada is saying they made a cheap thing out of it compared to what Bhaktisiddhanta was offering. So this is 1961, and now we're in 2021. We're getting ready to launch a comparison between ISKCON, what it has accomplished, and what Prabhupada stated that he wanted to see happen. But one thing which I've done is I've taken a very positive view towards ISKCON, in that, remember, we have discussed the Kanista, Madhyam, and Uttamadhikari, and how the Kanista Adhikari can also take disciples, but they cannot advance sufficiently under their insufficient guidance. So that's what we're dealing with here. ISKCON has got the Kanista Adhikari gurus because it is a Kanista Adhikari movement. It doesn't try or approach or think about Madhyamadikari or Uttamadikari. It only talks about the social Aniyavilasa Beach style of getting together and hanging out together, doing stuff together, and chanting, authentic chanting, authentic reading, etc. Insofar as the books were not changed, insofar the melodies are the same as those chanted by Prabhupada. But leaving that point aside, they are leaving. They are just simply making a club or a group out of the Kanista Adhikari platform, and they refuse to discuss Madhyam and Uttamadhikari, because I brought that question up to Gopal Krishna and Saranagati a few years ago. And he said, oh, if you bring in those distinctions, people will just become envious because they'll be trying to say who's the Kanista, who's the Madhyam, who's the Uttamadhikari. That is completely bogus, because the Kanista Adhikari, everyone is Kanista Adhikari, if that. Most people are not even yet Kanista Adhikari. So where's the question of Madhyamadhikari and Uttamadhikari to be confused with? If you study any of that anywhere, you'll find that it doesn't exist. That is not the possibility within ISKCON to have Madhyam or Uttamadhikari devotees, because they don't even want to talk about it, want to speak about do it. So where should we go from here?
So, Vishnu Tejas Prabhu, can you unmute yourself? Did you find that contrarian nature of Gorkishore Das Babaji, and you can read that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. The great Vaishnava saint Srila Gaurkishore Das Goswami Prabhupada.
Can you tell us where you're reading from? Or
this is on the Vrindavan Chandrodaya Mandir website.
Okay. All right.
It was during Srila Gaurkishore Das Prabhu's disappearance day.
Okay.
Yeah. The great Vaishnava saint Srila Gaurkishore Das Goswami Prabhupada entered into the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna on the auspicious day of Uttana Ekadashi. In his humility, he had asked that after the demise of his body, he be dragged through the streets of Navadvip. Some misdirected Babajis were preparing to do so, and then claiming his body to be offered samadhi at their own mutts with the motive of attracting funds from the public. The police commissioner had arrived at the scene to resolve the dispute. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, on learning of this, rushed to the spot. He said, I am the only disciple of Srila Gaurkishore Prabhu. Only someone of pure character can touch his body, even though I have not yet accepted the sannyas order, but I have strictly observed the rules of brahmacharya. If anyone who has had an illicit connection with any woman in the last 6 months, nay, in the last month, nay, in the last 15 days, nay, even within the last 3 days, and touches my guru's divine body, he will be subjected to severe suffering. The police commissioner said, how will you ascertain their claims? Srila Saraswati Thakur said, I will accept them for their word. To the commissioner's surprise, all the Babajis contending for Srila Gaurkishore Prabhu's body slid away from the place, leaving Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to perform the samadhi rites of Srila Gaurkishore's transcendental body by burying it in a newly formed sandbar on the banks of the Ganga. Later, when floods disturbed the samadhi, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had the samadhi shifted to Sri Chaitanya Mutt in Mayapur.
Wow. Let's see. Now, you want to offer some comments or some realization?
It is an astonishingly intricate way that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur prevented any further controversy, because he stated that whoever touches his body must be pure or he will suffer horribly. Babaji's body. Therefore, nobody wanted to come by. And the question is, were these Babajis really all that sinful that they were having sex within the last 3 days? Who knows? Maybe some of them were. But the main thing is they looked at themselves and realized that they were not on the highest platform, and they dared not take the risk of being given intense suffering for touching the body of a person who is really beyond the Uttama Adhikari in nature. They didn't dare. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did dare, and as a result, he was placed into a very nice samadhi of newly formed Ganges mud. And I might add that when Gaurkishore Das Babaji initiated, gave Diksha to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was as strict and rule-following as a human being can be, that he initiated him by handing him, picking up a handful of Ganges mud and putting it in his hand and saying, "This is your Diksha."
Mm-hmm.
No fire sacrifice, no bovitrava, no bananas, no flowers, no nothing. Just a handful of Ganges mud. So he buried him in a samadhi made of freshly constructed Ganges mud. And then later moved his body to the Chaitanya Mat in Mayapur. So what do we do now? Shall we go on?
Yes, let's go on. Unless anyone has any questions or they want to share some realizations.
Which are welcome. Okay, 17. Where there is an increase in the measurement of people, there your preaching work is to be seen. In other words, he went into crowds and created a mela of Krishna consciousness, not just hiding out. It's a little easier for us to understand what he did because in the 1960s, 50s and 60s, rock and roll concerts did like that. The guy that would be in charge of the concert, whoever he was, Chuck Berry, the Beatles, Bobby Darin, whatever that person did, drew a huge crowd of fanatical people dancing. So that is a precursor to kirtan in America, because they were doing it for some other reason, for a sociological reason. But in those days, in Navadvip, it was unheard of to create a crowd of people chanting Hare Krishna, or a crowd of people gathered around to discuss the Guru Shastra Sadhu. So that's what Prabhupada is recognizing there. Before he came to America, before he met all the survivors of the rock and roll culture in America. So he says when there's an increase in the measurement of people, being the number of people gathered, there your preaching work is to be seen. 18, you want to make a student hostel in London, and you explained it must be nicely arranged. So this is very contrarian. Why? Because how you can make a student hostel, which was sort of like an early ISKCON temple, you create the hostel, people come, then you make them devotees, not that they're devotees and you provide a temple or ashram for them to live in. This is very mind-boggling for 1961. In the 19, in the land of barbarians, a student hostel for preaching Hari Katha, who can understand all these things? Well, shortly after that, a couple of years after that, Srila Prabhupada went to New York and made a hostel, at 62 Second Avenue in a building advertised as Matchless Gifts, a storefront. So we can see that that was in the cards. That was meant to happen. In the land of barbarians, a student hostel for preaching Harikatha, who can understand all these things? Well, definitely his godbrothers couldn't. He's preaching this so that his godbrothers will realize and get the conclusion that they haven't done bupkas, they haven't done much to preach Lord Chaitanya's mission. They've just made little temples with a few little devotees in them. They go begging from door to door to get rice and chapati flour. And that's what they do.
One point is, or one thing I just came to me, that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, being a contrarian, he used to have debates. He used to have meetings with the British, ruling party, and there's many pictures of him with so-called white people, or whatever you want to call them, the leaders. And I'm sure when Prabhupada came to America, many of his godbrothers thought that he would be contaminated. While his spiritual master, he was very closely associated with the British Raj and all these people. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciples, they could never understand that part, it seems.
Well, because they were caste conscious.
Yes.
They were
yes, so,
they were Brahmins, they know the Gotra, and so they had to stay within the confines of their caste.
yes. Prabhupada also talks about this in his conversations and lectures. There was a fight between the non-Brahmins and the Brahmins, who were from higher caste versus lower caste, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was initiating both. The low caste people into Brahmins, and the Brahmins who were from Brahmin stock. So in the Math, they had this so-called superior and inferior, parties, which,
Which was not with the approval of Bhaktisiddhanta, no doubt.
exactly. Yes, Prabhupada talks about this. Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, well, we see some of that in ISKCON, like the Caucasian devotees will be there, then there will be like Hispanic, Mexican, or South American devotees. They tend to look at them as sort of like add-ons, not as the core. Of course, now they are becoming more the core, but nonetheless, that's how it has been. And also black devotees didn't join at all, really, very few. Why? Because they could never see how they could mix in with the white devotees.
Right. Very un-Krishna conscious.
Yeah. So the idea of this class consciousness with Bhakti, how did it resolve?
Well, it never resolved, because Prabhupada says there was, a division between these two.
How that it was a permanent division?
Well, that's what Prabhupada says. The Brahman born and the non-Brahman borns, they were. I'll try to find the exact quote when you're speaking, Prabhu. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. No, I've never heard that before.
Mm-hmm. You never heard it before, okay?
No, but I trust your words. It's just that you're introducing something I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me see.
Okay, so you better move it up.
Okay.
So the 20 is closer to the top. Okay, that's fine. 20. To mitigate all these contradictory ideas is not the trifling act of an inexpert and inexperienced person. Well,
Wow.
it is obviously Prabhupada may well have been referring to the class consciousness, caste consciousness in the Gaudiya Math.
That's what it's talking about here. We were having a conversation about this just now.
Yeah, but I mean, that's maybe why Prabhupada's bringing this up.
Yes, that's why. I can see it now.
And to mitigate is not the trifling act of an inexpert, inexperienced person. So what they're really saying is that the ones that are creating this clash of of Brahmin family versus non-Brahmin family, he is pointing out that this is not the sorting it out is not the act of an inexpert and inexperienced person. So what he's really saying is that his spiritual master sorted it out, but they were unable to sort it out.
Right.
They wanted to cling to their varna of birth. Whereas when Prabhupada came to America, this could be some of the clash that occurred when Prabhupada brought back people that had never even heard of Brahmins. And they came back to India trained as Brahmins,
Right.
doing good Brahminical work, like Jamuna cooking for Puri Maharaj, who wouldn't eat her cooking. That this is a class distinction which Puri could not handle. And because, I mean, if you're born in a higher caste, your tendency is to think this distinguishes me from people in a lower caste. But the Vaishnava makes no such distinctions. Because the Vaishnava is dealing with jiva, not body, not birth, not tradition. So because of that, we have to consider that the Vaishnava can see right through that. And Prabhupada succeeded in America, where apparently Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was not able to stop the poisonous circulation of class consciousness within the Gaudiya Math. Although I'm sure he made every distinction possible to prevent that from happening, but Prabhupada did it from the start. He took people, it didn't matter, black, Chinese, man, woman, and he made them into first initiated devotees, then he gave them Brahmin initiation. And that they accepted very naturally. They couldn't see any reason why not to, because they were not from a culture in which the hereditary Brahmin existed. Right? Can you hear?
Yeah,
Hello? You can hear?
yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if it cut out or not. Then in 21, Prabhupada says, writes, if everyone sat down together and carefully considered, then what nice preaching there could be. So I would say, Ramachandra Prabhu, that Prabhupada is indirectly referring to the class consciousness that developed in the Gaudiya Math. Because it's just a gosti. If everyone sat down together and carefully considered, that's just a gosti, then what nice preaching there could be. No backbiting and sniping based on caste. And interestingly, the British made the caste system far stronger and more rigid than it had ever been in the culture of the Vedas, because they have Burke's Book of Peerage, and they have such minute ways of distinguishing between who's born to whom in their British stance, that sometimes they could not go to dinner because the one who was more advanced, meaning the one that is of a higher breeding, even ever so slightly, goes into the dining hall first. And if they couldn't figure out who that was, then they would stay there for 4 hours discussing it without being able to take any dinner. So the British brought that mentality to India and made the caste consciousness stronger because they were using it. They used it by taking the Brahmins and making them eat meat and drink whiskey. They made them do that so that their families would reject them. So that meant that they belonged to the British. They were highly educated. They were highly educated, highly trained, qualified, and yet they were forced to eat meat and drink booze, which meant they could no longer go to their family. And if they did go to their family and ate off of a dish that belonged to the family would throw it in the trash afterwards. That's how strict the Brahminical culture was. So the British knew damned well what they were doing. They were trying to divide and conquer, which is what the divide and rule, divide and conquer, which is the British standard. Then at verse 22, does anyone have anything to comment at this point?
Anyone online or here that are listening? Bhanu Prabhu, Vishnu Tejas Prabhu, want to share anything?
Yeah, I was just saying, isn't that what happened to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami? Like they were associating with militias and then their families rejected them.
Well, they were born into it, I think, weren't they?
Yes, according to the nectar of that was nectar of devotion or nectar of instruction, where Srila Prabhupada is saying they were born into aristocrat Brahmin families and they were ostracized because of their association with the Muslims.
Yeah,
Prabhupada
well,
says,
that's it.
Prabhupada says during that time, that culture, Brahminical culture, was very strong. So people who associated with Muslims, they were outcasted. And it was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy that he accepted these two personalities. That's how Srila Prabhupada puts it.
But we have to take into account that Rupa Goswami is actually an expansion of Rupa Manjari from the spiritual world, not an ordinary Muslim, and not an ordinary Brahmin either, for that matter. Transcendental to Brahmin, transcendental to Muslim.
Yes.
So there was no question of Lord Chaitanya having mercy on them. It was that they came forward to fulfill the idea, the very idea that apparently the Gaudiya Math wasn't very happy with, that you can have the highest saint, like Rupa Goswami, who wrote the Upanishadamrita. You have the highest saint who has come out of been working with the Muslims. So, I mean, there's where that argument in the Gaudiya Math should have ended. How can they explain that? That Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari and yet came to live in the Brahmin family, then the Muslims, and then came back with Lord Chaitanya. That's not special kindness on the part of Lord Chaitanya. That is quite the opposite. It's just a fulfillment of what his point was, which is there's no limitation as to who can chant the Hare Krishna mantra. No limitation whatsoever.
Hare Krishna, Bhanu Prabhu, you want to say something?
Was Rupa Goswami born in a Brahmin family or a Muslim family? Just to know.
Brahmin family.
Okay.
We have your disciple Shravan on. Is connecting.
Okay.
Shravan Kirtan. Shravan, we're discussing Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Prabhupada's Vasishta 1961 offering, and we're making a 2021 comparison to ISKCON and how things that were going on in 1961 is still going on now, which Srila Prabhupada predicted, and how
It's not
things.
so much that they're still going on, it's the pattern has repeated itself due to the weakness of human nature.
Right.
Human nature is to try to take the divine and encapsulate it so it matches my earthly body and my earthly mind. So the same thing happens over and over again. That's why Srila Prabhupada's books are so potent and valuable, and why Kirtan with his melodies is so potent and valuable, because over the next 10,000 years, this fall down will occur a million times over. But we have to have the capacity to pick ourselves up again. And that's how we do it. By creating the standard again and living by it. And trying to push towards cultivating the higher level of Kanistha leading to the Madhyama. We need not worry about Uttama at this point. Just consider Prabhupada as Uttama. But we try to get to the Madhyam level of where we are directly inspired from within by Krishna.
Jai. So I think we have done first and second Vasishta already, and now the third one we can cover tomorrow, or unless devotees.
We completed the whole Vasishta?
No, the first and second we finished.
Yeah, we completed the whole second Vasishta?
Yes, 20.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I see. I didn't see the word third Vasishta.
Yeah, this is the third one here.
Yeah, so let's start tomorrow with third Vasishta. Now let's open the conversation for whomsoever wishes to participate.
Jai. Anyone have any questions? Share of realizations?
On this topic.
Yes.
Vasishtakam means Vyasa Puja offering to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami.
Yes.
So, what does it mean, Vyasa Puja offering? Can you explain in simple terms?
Vyasa Puja, worship, the representative. Narayan Prabhu?
Yes?
Vyasa Puja offering, what does it mean?
The Vyasa Puja offering is the offering to the Acharya.
Right.
Vyasa means the central person, Vyasa-san, Vyasa Puja, Srila Veda Vyasa. This is all core. So what is the question?
Why did Prabhupada write this exactly?
What?
Is there any circumstances?
Why did Prabhupada speak this? All this 75 verses? You see it? Is that
He
what you're
did
saying?
because he wanted the Gaudiya to know that they had royally screwed up. That they had spoiled the intent of the spiritual master. Remember, this is just before Prabhupada leaves for America, 1961. What, he left in 64 or 60, like that? I don't remember when he left, but Srila Prabhupada left for America at a time when he had to pretty well dig the grave of the Gaudiya monks with this poem. This poem is not to encourage people, it's to tell them you failed and now it's time to do the job right. Then a couple of years later, he went to America and did the job right. And then, just like Bhaktisiddhanta experienced his disciples make it into a social organization for their own pleasure and profit, well, that's what happened to Prabhupada's movement. So now we're coming along in 2021 to again say, this is the time to say the process is inadequate. You have succeeded in creating something resembling the Kanista Adhikari culture, but that's not the purpose of ISKCON. ISKCON is for the whole range. Kanista, then perfecting that level, Madhyam, and perfecting that level, you become in your rasa with Krishna in the Uttamadhikari platform.
One thing I'd like to say is, me and Shravan, we have attended a lot of lectures here in Sacramento, and we never hear about Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttamadhikari. It never even gets on their radar. I mean, we have heard lectures from Vaisheshika, Bir Krishna, who else? So many people have come through Sacramento.
May I comment on that?
Yes, please.
Basically, there was somebody, I think Narayan Prabhu was saying this, that someone was asked to explain how do you determine a Kanishtadhikari and Uttamadhikari.
Yes.
So he explained that once you do that, then, you're going to bring a lot of trouble here, in the organization.
That was in Saranagati, because Gopal Krishna had been reading from the introduction to Jaiva Dharma, and in that it very clearly discusses Kanista, Madhyam, and Uttamadhikari. So I said with considerable enthusiasm to Gopal Krishna, so are you introducing this concept, how to distinguish between Kanista, Madhyam, and Uttamadhikari? It was not a challenge, it wasn't a rhythmic statement or something of that sort. But I simply wanted to know if that was what he wanted, because I was very delighted if it was. He went into a whole dissertation of some sort of argument made by some third party, deconstructing the importance of Kanista, Madhyam, and Uttamadhikari. And then he went on to say that it'll simply make people jealous of each other, envious, if you make that distinction like that. And then after the lecture, I went out on the porch where he was, at the porch of the temple, and he said to me, "You're not a Ritvik of some sort, are you?" I said, "Why do you ask that?" "Because I'm interested in the Madhyam and Kanistadhikari and Uttamadhikari." Because he couldn't imagine who else would be talking about the three stages of devotional service.
Except the Ritviks. Except the Ritviks.
But the Ritviks don't either.
But
they could care less.
Why did you label you Ritvik? Interesting.
Simply because I was different.
I mean, how long ago was this?
I was saying something out of the box. Therefore, he assumed it must be Ritvik.
How long ago was this? 20 years ago?
Oh, good God, no. How long ago was it? Probably no more than 10 years ago.
Oh.
5 or 10 years ago.
Interesting.
And remember, he's been working closely with my brother all this time. So he sort of assumes that I must be in the same conformist group as my brother.
What group? I mean, what do you mean by that? Conformist group? Meaning what?
No, ISKCON Guru Group.
Oh, you mean a supporter of the bogus gurus?
Yeah.
Conditioned soul gurus, Kanishtadhikari gurus.
Yeah, a company man.
Company
You know,
man.
the word company man is actually came out of the labor union days. The company man is a guy who thinks in terms of the company, not the workers in the company.
Mhm.
But if he's thinking about the workers, he may join the union. If he's a company man, he's trying to stop the union.
Company man. Stop it. Kanishtaadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, Uttamadhikari.
Yes. And apparently it's not an acceptable topic
Mm.
in ISKCON GBC Guru Society. They have argued around it. We're just one big, essentially what they said at that meeting, or implied, is we're one big happy family. Why do you want to rock the boat?
Bhanu? Bhanu, your voice is not clear. Bhanu Prabhu, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Because they only have one class of devotees, the Kanishta Adhikari, the ISKCON. So we don't want to make two other categories over there.
Well, they have one type that they aspire to is Kanista. They have many that are not yet Kanista Adhikaris.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
They're in the kitchen cutting vegetables.
Hmm.
You see what I mean?
Right.
Kanista Adhikari is their desired goal. A company man that fits right in, and there's no arguments going on because everybody understands what everybody understands. You know, it's just like it's stuck together like that.
Hare Krishna. So, if anyone does not have any more questions, we can continue this tomorrow. We'll start from the third Vashishta. How does it look? Anything else anyone want to discuss?
Yeah, where's Lakshmi?
We don't know.
It's her association is excellent.
Jai.
She's bringing in the feminine Shakti with Brahminical intelligence,
Jai.
developing Brahminical intelligence. And I'm very impressed by that because everybody just goes by their old boys club standard, you know, everybody's just, hey, we're the guys and those are the chicks and stuff like that. And I like it when somebody is showing, a woman is showing great intelligence and ability to transform her outlook via these conversations in such a way that she can become an independent philosopher herself.
Yeah, we don't have many of those.
Well, that won't be true next year. We've got a whole bunch.
Jai. So I think I'll end it here, Prabhu.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone.
Please take that
Tejas
off
from
live and then say something.
Prabhu. I hope you're
Hi,
getting
Shravan. Shravan wants to say
equipment back.
something. Shravan?
Yeah, please take the